Hi, my name is Alan Swachinski, otherwise it can be known as AJ Swachinski. I'm going to be doing a presentation here tonight for a DOT Instructor course. It's going to be about an 8-minute long video, kind of a brief overview of the subject matter I'm going to be covering. I am apologizing here, I don't have a projector, a fancy big classroom here to be able to videotape myself in, so I will enclose a copy of my PowerPoint and a copy of my learning plan to you in our file. You can see behind us, that's all I got for background graphics here, so I'm guessing you're not going to want to look at it. Main subject here I'm talking about today is transporting of non-ambulatory patients in the out-of-hospital setting using stair chairs and stretchers. And there's 5 main subjects we're going to cover with it. The first is going to be the history of stretchers and stair chairs, power versus manual. It's a pretty big common thing out there. Everyone gets a little feisty. And we're also going to talk about striker versus Furno. People have preferences either way. I'm impartial. I think both work just fine. Another topic we're going to talk about in here is going to be stretcher operation. It's a huge part of this. It's the most key aspect of using a stretcher is knowing how to use the stretcher. We're also going to talk about manual loading. As I say manual loading, I mean like lifting the cot up, walking the guy in, versus like an auto loading system like the Furno NX or the power load system through Striker. And the last part we're going to talk about is the safety devices that we have to be using with these stretchers and stair chairs. So, a little history on this. Most people here probably know EMS, we're pretty much from funeral homes. We hauled bodies around. So hence the first cots, they're designed to haul dead people in the back of a hearse. They were really basic, didn't have any features on it. They were light because there was no attachments, there was no features to them other than a piece of aluminum and a thin pad to make dead family members feel good. Things started to change though when we became separate, when we were kind of seen as our own profession. I mean, if you want to call that our own profession or profession that's conjoined with a lot of other public safety departments, like, example, fire departments and EMS work together very well and commonly. And throughout history, we've had continual changes being made with the idea of patient safety and provider safety in mind. The original stretchers, like I said, they were flimsy, they were not very safe at all. Not for the patients, not for the providers. They were causing a lot of back injuries, and that was what it was a young man's game back then. In the 80s and the 90s, though, they started to think a little bit more. You had stretchers that you could lift up, and they had the scissoring action going up, so you could get a little height on them, so you got your work on them. And for stair chairs, simply back then, a lot of times they just used the wooden chair right off the kitchen table. It sounds simple, and it's still used today. I wouldn't call it the most safest way to go about, but it is a route you can use. In the 90s, late 90s, mid-2000s, they started coming out with more modern stretchers. When you started seeing things like the collapsible head on the cot so you could fit inside of the elevator, tight spaces. So when you started seeing some of the bigger differences in the Furno and Strikers, they kind of came out at the end of it as the big guys in the field. I mean, they were everything with it pretty much. Strikers, very easy to tell apart from most. They're big yellow cots. A lot of times they say rugged on them. Furnos, the manual cots I'm talking about would be the ProFlex. So the red ones or the blue ones that you commonly see, they're pretty distinctible. If it's red, blue, or yellow, it's somewhat modern-ish. They're still used by some companies out there. It's generally used by your either rural services with low call volume or your low budget, a lot of times for-profit ambulance services that the bottom line is kind of the big dollar for them, and that's kind of their biggest thing. With these, though, you do see a lot of injuries still with shoulder injuries and a lot of back injuries because you're having to physically get down on your knees, straighten your back out, and lift. And when you're holding your 100-pound patient, it's not so bad. When you got old big 350-pound man on there like my size, I'm not too great on our own backs. I think if I had to lift myself up a few days, I'd be in the gym a little bit more than I am. Also with this, you started seeing some stair chairs with some cool little attachments back then. They were pretty much just a small little narrow wheelchair, 12 inches in width. Had some handles that expanded out, handles on the top, and it pretty much just gave a carrying device so you could kind of carry them downstairs, lift them up, using pretty much all your own muscle strength to do it. There was no fancy adaptions to it. It was just brute force, but it was a safe brute force at the time, what they thought. kind of mid 2000s into the day and even into the future now. We're looking, starting to see. We'll start with stair chairs here. Seeing stair chairs with things like tracks on the back of them. The tracks are huge going down staircases. All you literally do is you pull out your track and you're leaning them back, having to hold across the arms, and the tracks just kind of going with all the stairs. If you got your stairs going, tracks kind of going at 45-degree angle right with them. Just kind of think of a tank going over a hill. It kind of just keeps going down. So the provider on the bottom is just kind of there to hold the stair chair, and the provider on the top is there merely just to give a little bit of back weight to it, so they don't go flying down. Other new things out there right now that you're seeing for stair chairs is things like power stair chairs, where they pretty much use the same track idea, but they just put a motor on the bottom of it, and that'll allow them to go up the stairs. There's a lot of good YouTube videos out there that I'd love to be able to show. I just don't have the time to it in this. That show just how great and effective they are. With this modern now, we're getting modern times, so this will be my time in EMS now. You're seeing more common things. Most services now, you're seeing power stretchers of some sort. Most common one you're seeing would be like the Striker XL Power or Power XL cot. It's pretty much got a battery pack on it. It's got a little electric motor that uses hydraulics underneath. Same scissoring action, but it's got a little piston that kind of goes. So you're getting rid of the days of having to jerk the patient up just to get them to a height level, just to move them out of the house, where you can do that for yourself now. And you're also seeing other things like the Furno Inex. It's a newer. It's been redesigned about 4 or 5 times now with about 30 different engineers, it seems like. Furno Inex is a really cool design. Each leg operates independently of each other. It's got an automatic loading system with it. But with both these stretchers, the biggest thing you got to worry about is batteries do die, things do break, so you do have to know how to use them manually still. They are much heavier than previous manual stretchers because they have all the extra electronics on it, so it is a little feature you got to kind of be prepared about it. Basic operations of a stretcher or a stair chair. If it's red, it moves. If it's red, it moves. If it's red, it moves. Biggest thing to remember, if it's red, it moves. Most modern stretchers, you can collapse the head of it, get yourself into an elevator, like I said before. A lot of them allow adjustments for the feet, so you can raise the feet up so you can have the patient kind of in a Trendelenburg-ish position. You can also have the feet bent. And you can also have the head raised. So, all these provide patient comfort. Patient comfort is kind of one of our number one goals. Patient comfort gives good satisfaction ratings. Good satisfaction ratings get management happy. Management happy makes a happy employee. All around, happy people. Manual loading of a stretcher. So this would be the old school technique out there, where you pretty much put the head of the stretcher in. If you're looking at my PowerPoint slide right now, which obviously I don't have up, but if you're looking at it on a separate screen, you'll see you'll load the stretcher into the front of the truck, or in the back of the truck, and you'll pull back, and the little hook there where you see the female holding. The provider that's on the foot of the cot would take a nice firm grip, keeping his back straight, lifting at the legs, and lift the cot up, while his other partner lifted up the legs for him. Pretty simple. Can be kind of hard for people to do. There's a lot of other cheater techniques with it, but I'm not even going to go into those. I'll let you kind of figure those out in the future. Power loading. This is the wave of the future. This is the way my generation likes. I like my back. I like my career. I'd like to keep my career. I don't want to be one of these guys that says, I've been doing this for 40 years, and every 10 years I get new back surgery or new shoulder surgery. I like my body. I like the organic feeling I have of not having all these injections and extra parts having to be added in just so I can keep doing my job. Power load's pretty simple. It's made by Striker. It's kind of more or less the industry standard in Minnesota that you're seeing. It's pretty much where you have an arm coming out of the back of the truck that grabs the head of the cot and lifts up all the weight from the provider. So the provider is there merely just to guide it in and make sure the cot doesn't slam into the truck quickly and jerk the patient. So at the end, the provider's holding no weight at all, really. The other common one, which you're starting to see slowly catch on, is Furno kind of redesigns and remarkets their device. It's called the Furno Inex. Talked about before, the legs operate independently, so they can lift the front legs after the front head of the cot's locked in, and that will allow them to roll the cot in there and then lift up the back legs, so the provider holds next to no weight at all with that. Power stair chairs, we talked about those already. They have powers, they have batteries pretty much on the tracks. Makes your stair chair work like a little tank with a person sitting on top of it. Safety devices, side rails and stretchers, they should always be up. They either roll up or they flip up. Two simple ways. Make sure they're always up, keeps the patient in there. Seatbelts, shoulder harnesses, use them. They're required by law in Minnesota. They work great. I've had to use them before myself when I've been taking a nap on the cot and had a partner slam on the brakes. I'm very happy when I had shoulder pain afterwards. And the biggest thing here is remember, these things are power. These stretchers are power. They're going to fail at some point in your career. Something's going to happen. Practice with them using them manually, so when you have to use it manually, you do know how to use it. With the stair chairs, same thing. Don't always rely on that track to be there for you. There is straps on there. Make sure you use them. They go over the shoulders generally, or they'll go over the torso and the waistline. There's almost always an ankle strap. Use those. Have the patient give themselves a big hug. Emphasize the big, tight hug. It'll save your back from the patient grabbing the handrail while you're going down. So guys, I'm really sorry about not being able to put my PowerPoint up here, but I hope you got to enjoy our black and white photo. My name is AJ Skoczynski. Again, this is for the DOT Instructor course. Thank you.